Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all. Happy Monday. Hi, Emily. Hi, Ashley, Ro, Naomi. Good to see you. How was everybody's weekend?
Not long enough.
I know, we feel the same way, honey.
We're so excited that you're here with us. Thank you for being here and on time. We're so excited to have this panel discussion tonight. We have some fabulous speakers that are joining us, and we'll just give everybody about 2 to 3 minutes to get logged on.
Yeah, and oh my God, I see Crystal here. How are you, Crystal? Was so excited to see you here.
Hey, ladies, how y'all doing?
Oh my God, I miss you so much.
Oh, miss you too. Sorry, I missed the vision boarding. It looked like it was awesome.
It was. We'll do another one, Crystal. We could do one when you're back.
Thank you,
Crystal. I like your picture with your family. Looks so much love, like so loving. Yes.
Thank you. Look, those are my favorite people. You know, sometimes you really need that. So thank you so much. It's been great, but we'll talk. We got to catch up on that, but it's been really good. It's been
amazing.
Good.
Yeah. Jax, I think we can get started.
Wonderful. We're happy to hear that. And whoever comes in will join us in our guest section. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. We are Fylí, which stands for Tribe, a female mastermind community, which is a peer-to-peer mentorship and accountability group. We have an amazing panel and lineup tonight: active listening and diversity in entertainment. We are thrilled to bring on this rock star panel of guest speakers this evening. And we'd like to give a very big shout out to our team that makes all of this happen for everyone. Thank you to our producer, Kate Kelly, and thank you to Catherine, our head of house, for all that you do. We are so grateful for the team. And now I'd like to pass it over to my co-founder, Summer.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. So first of all, we're so excited to see you here. Thank you so much for trusting us and sharing your time with us. So some housekeeping points. So ladies, if you are not speaking, and friends and gentlemen, if you are not speaking, please mute yourself. And if you have any questions specifically to some speakers or moderators, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. We'll make sure your questions will be answered. And shout out to our mastermind member, Crystal, who helped us make this panel happen. So Crystal introduced us to our moderator tonight, which is Eddie. So Eddie connected us to all of the amazing ladies here tonight. So it's my great honor to introduce Eddie. So Eddie, business and entertainment consultant. Eddie Rhodman is a business and entertainment consultant working with celebrities, executives, and athletes to build their brands. Rhodman Enterprises cultivates exclusive branding and event opportunities for clients in fashion, culinary, sports, and hospitality industries, representing celebrities and athletes in the NFL, NBA, and the Olympics, just to name a few. So Eddie, you know, Fylí, we are all about female empowerment and female entrepreneurships, and we help women rise, but we always work with men. So when we have a man like you, we call them Fylí Man Ambassador. So we're so grateful to have you. And without further ado, I will give you the floor. So have fun.
Well, thank you very much, ladies, for that, phenomenal introduction. I am so honored to be a part of this mastermind diversity inclusion with you ladies, your organization, Crystal. And I am not going to hold this up because we have some phenomenal people listening, but probably watching, and our speakers. So I'm gonna do a quick introduction of our speaker panelists, then allow them to tell a little bit about yourself even more, and then we're gonna get started. So our first, we have Miss Breion Moses, FAMU's finest, HBU CEO, founder of Seven Hills Productions Company, Seven Hills Productions Foundation, and Realback Summit. She is a native of South Florida. Breion was the co-instructor at the Black Women in Film Summit. She's a panelist at the Film, Music, Art, and Culture at Jazz in the Gardens, Gen Film Festival, and speaker at It's Just PR Media Mingle. Breion also was named one of South Florida's 40 under 40 leaders. So everybody, we have to introduce you to Breion Moses.
Hi, everyone. How are you all? My name is Breion Moses, just like Eddie just introduced me, and thank you for that warm welcome, and thank you all for having me on your platform. But I am Breion Moses. I am the founder and CEO of Seven Hills Productions, as well as Seven Hills Productions Foundation. Our foundation is the nonprofit arm of the production company, in which we support students at historically Black colleges and universities. We were founded in 2019. We have given over $2,000 in scholarships to students. Our first recipient was back in 2019, and of course 2020, which was last year. We had about 3 students that we supported, and this upcoming year we're trying to triple that number each year. So that's a little bit about myself.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Moses. And then we have the phenomenal, the music specialist, the advocate, the upcoming rising next future queen of a record label, maybe a future studio, Miss Pamela Chinawah, the multicultural strategic at Rogers & Cowan PMK. Pamela is a speaker, publicist, multicultural strategist who passion for storytelling has paved her career with clients across industries, including entertainment, technology, and consumer products. Currently, she manages publicity strategy for Kobe Bryant's Oscar-winning Brandy Studios and works as a multicultural strategist across brand entertainment clients at Rogers & Cowan PMK. And if anyone wants to talk music, Pamela can talk to you about any music, any genre, any industry. She is your expert. Miss Pamela, we welcome you.
Thank you for that, Eddie. I almost thought you were going to pop to Marissa when you were talking about music, because she's like, but she and I are like the same.
Me too. I was like, is it, which way are we going with that? But
yeah, I love that, but that's hilarious. But yes, thank you for that, Eddie. I currently am doing multicultural strategy with Rogers & Cowan PMK. And really my passion behind PR overall and entertainment specifically is understanding that these images that we see and that we create and that we broadcast truly around the world throughout the entire universe dictate how people view the world. And we have a lot of responsibility with that. So just as much as we know who our biggest stars here are in the US and our iconic characters like the Mickey Mouses of the world, we also know that little kids who've never even watched TV a day in their lives know who Mickey Mouse is. They know who Kobe Bryant is. They know who Michael Jordan is. So there's a lot of pervasiveness in entertainment. And I think if we control what kind of images we put out in the world and advocate for marginalized communities through entertainment, then we can honestly create a better world. It's the opposite side of politics or whatever you want to call everything. It's all about life and how we see ourselves. So really that is my passion behind PR and why I'm here doing what I'm doing.
And thank you, Pamela, for continuing to keep doing what you're doing. We're excited to see what you're going to do in 2021 with all your work. And now we're going to go to the other music lover / diva of Rogers & Cowan PMK, Miss Marissa Wallace, who is the group director of Rogers & Cowan PMK, but she's also the multicultural communications and marketing department group director. So, she just manages the whole group. Marissa, multicultural communication strategy and public relations campaigns for a cross section of the agency's brand and talent clients. She executes new strategies and programs designed to further client engagement with general and multicultural audiences, including communities of color, LGBTQ+, women, differential abled, and youth communities. She loves music. She loves fashion. And if you ever follow her, she likes to give you a nice little selfie pose, which our ladies call Black Girl Magic every once in a while, when she graces us. So welcome, Miss Marissa Wallace.
thank you so much, Eddie. I love the intro. Thank you so much. I don't know who follows me, but I am known for a good selfie here and there. The lighting works out for me, doesn't always work out for me in my favor, but I'm so happy to be here. Good evening, good afternoon. Like Eddie said, I am a director at Rogers & Cowan PMK across the multicultural marketing and communications department. Really I am a people advocate at the end of the day. I advocate for people. Doesn't matter your background. If you are in a marginalized group, I am going to be the first one on the front lines to make sure that you're heard, you're seen, you're validated, and your experiences are seen. And so I feel like the entertainment space is such a prime space and opportunity to showcase that, right? Something similar to what Pamela was saying earlier. You're really introduced and educated on groups and people and cultures and countries different than you through what you consume in music, in film and television. And so that power is so influential that you really have to have the right people in the room creating that content to make sure that you're changing hearts and minds and you're informing people of authentic experiences. And so that's really what I do. I really try to work with brands, work with talent and entertainment clients to make sure we're as authentically and as clearly representing groups and people so that, again, bridges can be crossed, divides can be crossed, and that we can all be connected and live harmoniously one day in this world. So I'm glad to be here.
Oh, well, thank you, Marissa. And then our final panelist is the esteemed, the Honorable Latashia DeVeaux, AKA President, AKA Queen, AKA Talent Relations and Community Consultant, BET Principal, Devoted Enterprise. If you didn't know, Latashia's from LA, so her first initials LA stand for Los Angeles too. Latashia is a seasoned PR communications executive with 20 plus years of entertainment publicity, event marketing, and talent relations experience with an emphasis in diversity, equity, and inclusion within tech, luxury, automotive, and beauty industry. Her clients have included Universal Pictures, City of Los Angeles, Yellow Pages, or AKA YP for the young millennials, Procter & Gamble, U.S. Armed Forces Entertainment, the Big Three, and many others. Her receipts is long, so we're going to keep her list of clients short because the receipt would be too long, and her receipts are long. So we have the Honorable, the pleasure, Miss Latashia DeVeaux.
Eddie, thank you so very much for the very colorful introduction, as only you could do. And only for me to be to follow these beautiful ladies. I am excited to be here. Thank you so much. Okay, let the dog get in on it. All right, we hear you. I'm excited to be here. I am Latashia DeVeaux. As Eddie mentioned, I'm the current president of the Los Angeles chapter of Black Public Relations Society of Los Angeles. I am also a current consultant at BET. And, really, I'm intentional. I believe in purpose, and everything that I do has purpose behind it. So when I am connecting people or I am working on initiatives or projects, programs, whatever it is, I'm intentional in everything that I do. So hopefully anything that I may share or say today adds any type of value or purpose to your lives. Thank you.
And thank you for that favor for your flavor, Tasha. We're going to need some of that before we leave. So add the hot sauce, the favor for your flavor, and that Los Angeles special spice for this. So y'all going to get enough talk about me because this is all about this masterclass of women that are a part of this great organization. So we're going to dive right into it. And because we all just, have new administration, the first question I want to ask is diversity matters, inclusivity matters, representation matters. What do you think the inauguration with all the fashion, artists, music, and poetry, which highlighted so many different cultures, did for little children everywhere who watch people who like them no matter who they are? What do you think that it did for the visions of themselves in the future? So if everybody can take a little bit, 1 minute to answer that, we'd like to hear from each panelist, please.
Yeah, I guess I will start. So what a moment, what a time, 2021, January 20th. I don't know how many people were counting down like I was for the past 4 years, but we made it. And just setting the stage as they did to highlight Amanda Gorman, for example, right? The poet who so eloquently captured so much of the sentiments that we all felt across the country, across the world. Seeing Vice President Kamala Harris on stage, that those images really help define and really help lay a foundation for children to know what's possible, right? There's children growing up now that they don't know anything different other than there was a Black president, there was a Black VP, there was a Black first lady, there's a woman in office, right? That is the mindset that they have going forward. Again, so they don't think that isn't attainable for them. That's attainable, right? And so continuing to promote those images on media, to highlight these people, to highlight the Pierre Moss, which is a coat that Kamala wore, who's a Black designer, highlighting the people behind the scenes in front of the camera as well, showcases that there's so many different amazing artists, amazing people, amazing politicians out there, and that you have access to be able to do that. And so that's what we mean by images and media are so transformative. It really lays down the foundation for what you're able to attain. So I think that moment on stage during the inauguration and all the programming throughout the day really, again, just help to inspire and empower our next generation of leaders. So
love that. And I completely agree. I think that, of course, Jacqueline said in the comments, if you see it, you can be it. And that's so true. How people are able to relate to what they see on a screen or in office really dictates kind of your understanding of the roles that you're able to play in society. So whereas all of us here on this panel grew up seeing literally all white faces, A to Z, for vice president, for president, it kind of placed that position out of reach. But there are kids now who see, brown faces, and it's their default to think a Black man was the president for 8 years, and a Black and South Asian woman is now going to be the vice president, or is the vice president. That's a huge, huge thing. Just as Marissa said, even Michelle Obama wearing a Black designer is a huge, huge thing, because so many people have this idea in their minds that Black equals not quality, or isn't high fashion, or there are no high-end Black designers, and there are plenty. So when all of these brands, or people want to do their brand integrations, et cetera, they want to dress their clients on, for a photo shoot, for a movie, for a TV show, hire Black designers. There are high-end Black designers. You don't have to go to the same old fashion houses, which, if we're being honest, these fashion houses live and thrive off of the culture created by Black people. So how about let's pay that forward and go after Black designers. Even Michelle Obama highlighting her hairstylist, because the term laid was trending on Twitter because Michelle Obama's hair was laid, okay? And like, to see something like that is so—
to the gods, honey, to the gods.
Right? Because it's so distinct to Black vernacular and Black history and Black culture for us to even celebrate and gather around something like how beautiful her hair was, right? And the effort, we know the effort it takes to keep those curls. And whether
can we just have more of a moment about her hair, because it really was. I just want to know what product she used. Like, was it like a spritz? Like, how did her curls hold? It was the body, it was the movement and the elements. It was all amazing. So sorry, I just needed a moment.
Exactly, and she looked
her
like
hair. I need to develop a show just on her. Just call it hair. Just the hair. Yes, we love the hairstylist, but just the hair.
And now her hairstylist is booked. So we love to see the impact of that, how it just reverberates outwards to the communities, to the money that's spread around. Speaking of Amanda Gorman, even the legacy attached to something like that is from Los Angeles. And then on top of that, Oprah gave her a ring with a bird on it to represent just the legacy of poetry and the people that she's had come before her. Seeing how this plays out throughout history is beautiful, and I think we're going to see so much out of this inauguration.
I will say, yes, it gave children hope, but it also gave older people hope who never would have thought that they would have seen anything like this in their lifetime. The same thing we've heard, the grandmothers and aunties and great uncles said, I would have never thought I would have seen a Black man become president. Is the same thing about Kamala. It gives hope across generations, and especially, you know, with the events of last year, we have the audacity. So we have the audacity to hope, and having her in office says a lot about the power of Black people, the power of Black culture, the people who got that woman in there, the people who got the other politicians in office. So we didn't even talk about that yet, but that just shows the power of Black culture and the things that we can do, the things that we have done. Don't play with us. We've been doing this. This is nothing new. It was just amplified on January 20th.
And one thing I would add to that, Tasha, is the highlighting of HBCUs. Don't ever, 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 ever tell me anything ever again about how HBCUs don't prepare Black kids and Black young adults for the real world. Because guess what? We have an HBCU in the Oval Office now. Georgia, like everything that happened in Georgia is all due to HBCUs. So the highest and most progressive things we're seeing in the election this past cycle is because of the HBCUs that prepared these politicians to go out in the world and do the work on the largest national political stage international political stage. Like, this is the biggest you could possibly do, and the HBCUs put them there.
Absolutely. And I am a product of an HBCU. And just to see my Sora, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, you know, to ascend to the highest office, that speaks volumes. I know for young kids, and even myself, I didn't think that I would see history twice. You know, having our first Black president and now having our first Black vice president. It's really amazing. And it gave me chills to really just see that happen twice. I was like completely blown away. And I know for young girls, because even talking to my little cousins and young girls in the community, they told me that it helped their confidence. And also they're able to identify now, like, okay, if she can do it, I definitely can do it. And I'm like, absolutely, you can be anything that you want to be. You know, these are the different steps that you have to take. Go about doing it. Get the best grades that you can get in school. You know, be the best at it. And don't let anyone ever tell you that you cannot do it and that you're not worthy of it, because we see in America with these Black women, you know, we are the backbone of America. So let's get that straight.
Well, we can all agree the fashion was literally on display, from Michelle to J-Lo to Lady Gaga to even our new President, First Lady Jill Biden. All the ladies who are diverse represented, and also the music represented. So that goes into my next question. We all know there's a celebration, or during the inauguration, we had the songs, we had credible artists. But do you feel the diversity in the entertainment industry specifically is fundamentally broken? And where do we see hope? Because as we saw, all the artists from country, pop, Latin, Black, were all got to highlight it and shown. But do you feel that this is broken? And do we have hope right now moving forward in 2021 and beyond?
I would say it's not so much that these entertainment systems that we're dealing with and working within, they're not broken, but they're working the way that they were designed to work, right? Like, these systems were never designed for a Black artist, a Black musician to be successful and earn money off of their hard work. And we know that. We can look through the history and look at all of the millions, gazillions of times that Black artists have been exploited. They've had their music stolen, all of the things, and had their music stolen by white artists, et cetera. And even looking at the creation of Motown Records and why that was such an important and creative and monumental thing, or even just different artists throughout history who did own their own masters, right? Prince all through the 90s, a huge fight. He literally changed his name because he didn't own his masters, right? And this new conversation about owning masters is a very new conversation. But I think overall, these entertainment systems were just simply not built for the marginalized groups to have power in them. But what I am seeing is that we are forcing change. So in my mind, what we do have to do is deconstruct the systems almost entirely and rebuild them with inclusion in mind, just because of the fact that they weren't built to be inclusive in the first place. So when people start talking about like, just add some color to the system, I'm like, that's not gonna work, because it's still not going to benefit us. It's still not going to treat us equally or equitably, more importantly, because it just wasn't designed to. But I do have hope, because I'm seeing so many people behind the scenes and in front of the camera do the work themselves, because they're saying, you know, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it. So, you know, I love that the A team, the go-getters, just making the change happen.
Yeah, and that's a great point, just to foundationally remember that these systems weren't created with diversity and inclusion in mind. And so what we're seeing now is what we're seeing, you know, officially, and I feel like in 2020 and up until now, is that we're really trying to reframe, or not really reframe, deconstruct and build a whole new system that does center diversity, that does center inclusion, that does center equity for these groups, for all groups. And when it comes to the entertainment industry, across music, across film, across television, it is really easy to, you know, especially in this new age of accountability and transparency that we're seeing, or just really being called out on social media, if we want to just be like straight to the point about it. It's really, we're really seeing that studios or, you know, record companies are hiring or saying or want to increase representation of people of color, of different backgrounds. But we also understand, just because you're hired somewhere does not mean you're truly empowered or that you have influence to really change anything, right? So it's really also about truly at the core of what you believe in, at the core of what your values are, empowering these people of diverse backgrounds to really make decisions, right? Like have them in leadership positions, or just have an open kind of format or forum where everyone's going to be heard and their opinions will be listened to and as well as implemented, so that we can see more diverse content on our screens, more authentic storytelling on our screens, more, you know, not a cookie cutter kind of traditional like woman on the stage that's, you know, not your typical whatever the case may be of yesteryear. We just really need to create more space to really hear more stories and empower people of all backgrounds at these companies. So it's a whole new system. We have to get adjusted to it, but the time is now.
Well, I think that was
agree more.
Oh, go Tasha. Go ahead, Tasha. You got your final say.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just going to say I couldn't agree more. And simply put, you know, do I have hope? I absolutely have hope, because I'm here. I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to hold everybody accountable. I'm taking a lot of names. I'm kicking butt. So I'm going to make sure that I'm very honest in what I do and what I say. I'm making sure that I'm not all talk, because I don't accept or allow lip service from anyone else. So I do the work. I'm doing my part. So yeah, I have hope, because I'm here. And it's a new day. Things are going to change. What you saw of yesteryear is over today.
And I agree with you all 100%, but we can even take it back even further, looking at our Constitution and how it was constructed, because it was never constructed for us to be included. We weren't considered citizens at all. And when you even go back to the 3/5 Amendment, for every 5 slaves, they count them as 3 people towards the population. So there is hope, you know, to see, you know, our first Black president, and then now our first female vice president. So like all of you all said, I agree, there's hope, and hopefully that we will continue to do the right thing and not just, you know, hire people just to have the numbers, because that really, like, you know, we can see through and understand like, okay, yeah, you're just doing this for, you know, publicity stunt, and that's not what we want. You know, we want to continue to move in the right direction and actually have diversity and inclusion. And even I would even go as far as making sure that diversity and inclusion is within your mission of your organization. Like, this is what your foundation, to say like, this is what we want, this is what we're going to move towards, and this is how we're going to do it. Have that written out for people to really understand.
Well, this is a great segue into the next form of entertainment that we all love, watch daily, and are subliminally shown to tackle what is right. TV, Hollywood. Are we actually seeing systematic change, or is Hollywood just appealing to diverse audience through castings, but without fundamental altering the way studios do business behind the camera? And to follow that, how can we modernize studios and TV networks' worldviews of the evolving American audience? America is not just one race, it's very diverse, which, by the way, is now 40% minority and 50% female. So ladies, I know everybody's chomping on the bit to talk about Hollywood and TV. I will ask it one more time. Is Hollywood appealing to diverse audience through casting without fundamentally altering the way studios do business behind the camera? And how can we modernize studios and TV networks to reflect the evolving audience that actually watches these shows? And it's not just the Friends. No disrespect to Friends, but everyone's life is not Friends.
Sorry, let me stop myself right there. But
Marissa, I know where you're going with that.
I don't want this Friends living single situation, but let me go.
Everybody in New York, all my New Yorkers, Kenny, I see all my brothers on there. Everybody in New York understands New York is not Friends. That's not real New York.
So to your first part of your question about, are we really seeing sort of systematic change in Hollywood? I think we're seeing progress. And I think what the line of work that I do in the DE&I space and multicultural marketing space, you have to sort of remind yourself of the history and sort of what the damage has been, to be quite honest, right? There's been centuries of inequities that our groups have faced. So we're fighting up a really large mountain, and progress needs to be measured sort of like what we say internally in inches and not the miles. So although we don't see the dramatic shift that we would like to see just yet, I still believe that there's progress being made. Like I was saying earlier, I think the key component of really making that change happen really happens when you hire people who authentically live the experiences that you're portraying in these television or film experiences and content, right? If you don't have the right people at the table, or you're not consulting the right people who actually experience what we are creating these stories around, how are you going to accurately get it right? Like, that's why we continue to see sort of Black families or Black communities portrayed in a cliche way or an inauthentic way. We don't have the right people. And not that there's only one way to portray a Black community or a certain community, right? Because we're not a monolith. We have different kind of entry points and experiences, but to get it right, you still have to have the right people there to share, to collaborate, to make sure that you're really being sensitive to the content that you're creating and that you're displaying, because again, it has an impact, it has an influence on how your own community and how other communities understand you. Again, you're also seeing like representation of LGBTQ characters still not getting it right. I think we're seeing more increased visibility of them, right? I think your Shonda Rhimes, your Lena Waithe, like they're doing a great job of highlighting these experiences, whereas maybe a decade ago, we weren't seeing it as much. And so we're able to see these portrayals, but again, we can do better. And it's again, just about bringing the right people, bringing as many different people to the table to share perspectives and empowering them to have their voice heard.
I love that. And I completely agree. It bounces back a little bit to what Tasha said earlier about, you know, having hope because I'm still here. And I think I feel the same way. I have hope because I'm doing the work. I know Tasha's doing the work. I know everyone here is doing the work. But I think what that says is there is progress. It's not fast enough, if we're being honest. I'm very unsatisfied, deeply unsatisfied with how slow this is, because, you know, we do these, you know, variety and THR roundtables and all of these publications and different panelists, you know, now it's virtual, but Sundance and Toronto Film Festival, everyone has a panel about diversity and inclusion. When are we going to stop talking about it? I frankly, I can't understand what is so hard, what is so difficult and impossible to grasp about being more inclusive, about saying we're going to hire more people who don't look like me, and we're actually going to give them power. The only thing that is actually a burden there is simply not wanting to do it, or not wanting to actually put in the work that it takes to do that, to go outside of your social circle, which more than likely is 9 white people and maybe 1 brown face. Like going outside of your immediate professional network, which more than likely is 7 white people and maybe 1 brown face and 1 Asian, right? Like, it's just like, you have to put in the effort and the work to make the change. And if you really, really actually want to see a change, and if you actually really want to see this world that you say is your ideal, your supportive of diversity and inclusion, then go be about it. You can't expect the world that you want to exist without you personally putting in the work to make it happen. And that's something that I just find really interesting, and not just in entertainment, but across the world, is people will say, oh yeah, I believe in XYZ. Well, what are you doing to make sure that the world you live in reflects what you believe? Are you doing the work, or are you just sitting back and expecting other people to do the work so that you can benefit from it, right? And even when we look at the studio system, a lot of the progress that we're seeing, at least that I see, is coming from actors who you know, have stepped out of their talent role into other positions because they're not seeing the work being done, or because they know that they need to personally use their fame and their platform to push a faster resolution. Michael B. Jordan is a great example of that. He's one of the first ones to say, we're doing an inclusion rider on everything. Regina King is the same thing. Like, she just had her directorial debut, but she's someone who, when she got her Oscar for If Beale Street Could Talk, she said, I'm hiring 50% women on every single project I do. And she just opened that up wider and said, you know what, that's not even inclusive enough. We're gonna add in trans people to that. And she very plainly said, I think 2 weeks ago, I know that this is a hard task, but I'm going to do it. And that's the difference between someone like a Regina King, an MBJ, and these other people who've been sitting in their positions at these jobs for the past 30 or 40 years. What power does Regina King or Michael B. Jordan have to make these decisions that all of these other people couldn't have done 10 years ago or 20 years ago? So I think that's kind of the big thing for me, is just put the action behind the words. And until you do that, I don't really believe you, but I know that the people who are actually stepping up to the plate to do the work, they're going to make a change, because that's what we do. That's simply what we do. And I think when you look at any marginalized community in the US, whether we're talking about Black people or Asian people or differently abled people, what we know is that these are people who fight for what they need and what they deserve and what is rightfully theirs. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't see Black people in the US thriving despite the oppression. You wouldn't see differently abled people now having such a larger megaphone now in 2021 than they did in maybe even 5 years ago, right? Like having trending topics on social media because someone made a mistake on a TV show or on a movie or in casting. So I think we are all very powerful people. And I think that marginalization has forced us to become even stronger than we already are and even more vocal than we already were. And get with the program or we're just going to run you over. I don't know what else to say.
Let me interject and ask one quick question. We see with Netflix, not saying Netflix is the perfect system, but For setting the bar, Netflix has showed diversity for all races, Black, brown, white, African. You see the One Day at a Time shows, Mr. Iglesias, all the Nollywood, Bollywood. Is Netflix why everyone is looking to have their own production and show diversity, or Netflix just understands we are entertaining the world and not just one market?
I think
they understand that their reach, and they understand that there's work to be done. And one thing I can say from the outside looking in, that, you know, Netflix is not perfect. They're not the end all to be all, but they do understand that we got to do the work. They understand that, okay, all these Black folk gonna put our feet to the fire. So we have to do the work. It's uncomfortable. We've experienced things internally and externally, but we understand, you know, the culture shift. We understand that we have, like, just from an internal perspective, they have some brilliant Black employees. So they acknowledge that, okay, we need to give them a voice because we're hiring all this Black talent, but we don't know what to do with it. We just know that we have a great eye. So one of the things that I think they've done what they've done is acknowledge openly where they've fallen short. And they put their money where their mouth is. Okay, we're gonna give $1 to this, we're gonna give $1 to that, but we want to understand why we are donating financially to these causes. We are donating to banks because we understand that how, when you go to the larger banks, how they treat Black and brown and marginalized people, how you guys can't get loans. Oh, okay, really? That's what's been going, yeah, that's what's been going on. So you know what we're gonna do? We have this fund here for this very reason. Okay, we're gonna donate to this. So I appreciate the work because they sit down to understand why it's been so challenging. And then that shows in a lot of the production and the internal things that they're doing. So I think I applied, and it goes back a couple of years when they launched Strong Black Lead, because it took someone internally, and the person, and you guys can read this, the person who launched that initiative, he loved him, adore him, smart. He was not, or is not, a senior level professional at the organization, even though he could be, but they allowed his voice to be heard. And that's what I can appreciate about that organization. It wasn't a matter of, okay, in order for you to have a seat at the table or to have a voice, you need to have a senior VP or whatever behind your name. It is, okay, you got something to say? He didn't just point out a problem. He saw a problem. He came up with a solution, and now, bam, here you go. One of my favorite initiatives ever, Strong Black Lead. And it came from them allowing somebody to have a voice at the table.
And just to piggyback off of that, have you all paid attention to what Coca-Cola's doing as in their, essential part of their company? They, diversity is a part of that. And then also what I love with Coca-Cola is that they offer diversity education programs, so they are doing the work, and you see a lot of Black executives and people of color that work, within their organization. So I definitely agree with you all 100% on that.
And
so
Breion,
Breion,
adding,
go ahead.
Sorry, Eddie.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Point. Sorry, it was getting good. I think they're all touching on the key point about a Coca-Cola or about a Netflix brand. I don't think they are the reason why we're seeing other companies necessarily try to make strides. I think that's sort of an external pressure that's being sort of like increased over the past year from audiences and fan bases and all of that. But I do think they're getting the credit a bit more because it appears that they're doing it sort of transformationally from the inside out. And what Breion just said about the workforce and seeing Black executives, seeing executives of different backgrounds, that's key. If you are just making blanket public statements about your value of DE&I, about supporting multicultural communities, and we look at, because the first thing Black Twitter is going to do, or any other group is going to do, is let me just see who's on your board real fast. Let me see what your senior leadership team looks like really quickly. And if it doesn't reflect necessarily the values that you are speaking about, we're going to call you out for it. So I think Netflix did a great job. They just released their first diversity report, and they showed some gains of sort of like their workforce with women, with Black people, some increases with the Hispanic community, but they also understood that we don't see, we're not making the progress that we want to see with like women in technical jobs or other areas, right? So they're being very transparent, which is key. They're proactively being transparent about where they are making strides and where they are falling short. And that is what is going to make the difference for the brands that are going to get that brand affinity with these multicultural groups and make that connection with these diverse communities, is how transparent and open and honest you're going to be. Yes, you might be falling short now, but what are you going to do to make a change? That's all we want to see. To everyone's point, we all want to just see change. We don't care at this point where you're lacking. We know you're lacking, right? We know that. Like, what are you going to do now? And so, yeah, I just wanted to add that point. It's all about transforming inside out first, and you have to do it at the same time.
So we all understand the entertainment industry. Everyone, I think, listening, watching, works in some form of entertainment or has dealt with that in their business or works with someone. And Pamela made a good, suggestion or statement about inclusivity. Ms. Breion, on behalf of all the female production companies, can you give us a quick, insightful, what is an inclusivity writer and what are studios and networks mandating this to be part of their new policies moving forward?
So the writer is basically like a stipulation or provision, however you want to put it, but it's a contract that requires a certain level of diversity in casting, and production staff that will show real demographics. So people that, look like you, people of different, diverse backgrounds, because we know like our world is multicultural and multiracial. So therefore we should acknowledge the importance, of diversity. With us on the production side and even on the nonprofit side, my leadership team, mostly everybody, we look like one another. Now, we are Black female and Black males, but we come from very diverse backgrounds. We have some that are, of Haitian cultural descent, or West Indian. And I have one of my board members on here right now, she's from St. Martin. So I get a chance to really know more about the culture of Black folks, because when I was at FAMU, going there, I saw people that look like me, right? So, but once I got a chance to really understand, like, oh, wow, we're Black and we're from here, we're from there. I got a chance to meet people in London, and, students that were from London that, I would never have thought that, I would get a chance to meet someone from a different part of the world. And then even from there, I met some students that were from South Africa on FAMU's campus. And then for me 2019, the end of 2019, my friend and I, we actually went to South Africa, and I reached out to a couple of students from FAMU that I was there at the same time, but we didn't get a chance to meet up. But it's always great to like really connect and have people a part of your board that, is a great representation of all people, So, yeah.
Well, I want to make sure we have enough time to give everybody time to ask questions. So I'm going to ask two more questions. I'm going to kind of combine them together. So we all know there's a lot of diversity missions out here, whether they're actually doing diversity. We see all the fashion, advertising, entertainment, TV, film. Everyone's hiring, diversity. So they're saying they're all about diversity. How can more diverse candidates of diverse racial, ethnic, gender, disability, and LGBTQ become more involved in being hired? And can you share examples of any specific initiatives that you are dedicated to showing these diverse hiring practices in your work or referring someone?
Yeah, I will jump in here. hiring does not fall on the applicant, right? We all know that. Hiring falls on those already in the organization, those with the power to actually say, you have this job or you don't have this job. So again, that burden isn't on us. It's on, again, the people in power, and those people in power in HR or hiring managers really need to assess how they are now thinking about culturally, if an applicant is adding to the culture, or if they, again, are more of the same, which is what we don't want. That's not how you're going to achieve diversity and inclusion. 1, 2, from an initiative standpoint in the entertainment industry, just some sort of initiatives that I'm seeing as far as making sure that we get more people of diverse backgrounds and hiring and hired in general. I know Ava DuVernay, and I believe Peter Roth, I believe, from Warner Brothers, just issued a new initiative where they are really trying to promote below the line talent. So your producers, your directors, your writers, your cast and crew, well, not your cast, your crew, and trying to connect them with hiring managers, right? It's always like, oh, we can't find Black people in these roles, or we can't find Hispanic people in these roles, or we can't find LGBTQ people in these roles, which is not true. It's not true. I'm trying to keep it PC. It's not true. You just are not expanding beyond your network. So an initiative like that, where you are amplifying these applicants, connecting them directly, creating a database and connecting them with different studios and production companies to say, look, you're trying to diversify what you're doing. There's a list of qualified, experienced people, take your pick. So that's a great initiative that I think we need to see more of. I know also, I believe an organization called Diverse Representation just recently partnered with a nonprofit, Color of Change, to launch like a Black executive talent pipeline to really connect. I think they're pairing sort of like working mentors in the entertainment industries with aspiring applicants, if you will, to really show them the ropes and really create that, again, pipeline to get these diverse candidates into actual roles where they're hired and being paid and compensated fairly for the work that they do. And that's, again, initiatives like that are things that brands can get behind, right? Because we really need funding for things like that to make sure that they continue and that they grow, and that we can have this collective and this database and places where people can go, or where diverse candidates can go and really get in front of who they need to get in front of, until we are at a place where we don't have to fight and claw our way to the table, where, again, the table will be diverse and we won't really have to, again, fight our way to that role.
100%.
You know what? Nice segue, Marissa Pooh, about the table. Ava, who launched Array Crew, which is, for the below line, those are the below the line crew, diverse representation, much like Beepers LA, and the table that we are creating for students, professionals of all levels that look like us and that really don't look like us. And talking about the table, that is exactly how I feel about myself. I know when I walk into rooms, I know they will shift and the temperature will change, because my presence will, how can I say this? The temperature and the ship will change because of my presence, because I know what I bring to the table. I don't even have to be at the head, but I know I'm the one who built the table for everybody to eat. And like Black people, that's what we're always doing. We create, and we create the shift for everybody to benefit. Black, white, brown, Asian, other, which is why Kamala is in office, which is why Joe Biden is in office. He did not get there because of people that look like him, and we all know that. We're not on this Zoom because a platform for people who often are overlooked and underserved. We create opportunities for ourselves. And one thing, like Eddie said earlier about favor, I know what my favor is. My favor is to be intentional, to be a dot connector, to make sure that anything that I do enter, say, or I put my hands on, that somebody else or something else is blessed. And if it is not, my job is not being done. So creating a table for everybody to eat, even young people, young students who are not necessarily African American or who are not Black, get opportunities, because if you don't look a certain way, you didn't attend a certain type of school, you're often overlooked because they see you as less qualified. And HBC, FAMU, Eddie Morehouse, you guys know this all too well. Hell, the three of us ladies, Pamela, Marissa, we know the conversations are a bit different because we don't have the Stanfords and so on so behind our name, but we're just as great. No, to be honest with you, I'm sorry, we're better. So with that being said, I know the shift that the things that we're doing as an organization, creating opportunities for marginalized people, creating opportunities for people that look like us, creating opportunities for those with disabilities, those who may not be able to see, hear, whatever the case may be, we offer and we provide opportunities for people to be able to learn, to lead, and to serve.
I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
Everything that you said, I agree with all of that. And just to add on, the reason why I created Seven Hills Production Foundation and the nonprofit arm, as well as the visionary behind the Real Back Film Summit, all of this goes back to representation from an HBCU standpoint. You know, we support students at all HBCUs. And with us supporting these students, the Real Back Film Summit and the production side, what we do is our mission is to help inspire the aspiring filmmakers. That was the reason why we created that. We hosted our inaugural event on Florida A&M University's campus. And the students from not only just FAMU, from even across the track, the Black students from Florida State University, they came over to our summit and they appreciated having this representation, bringing these Black voices and these Black faces from entertainment and film, and seeing them. They said it was a sense of hope, you know, that, okay, although, you know, they're not able to, you know, break in right now, you know, because they're still students, but just to have that representation and seeing other Black faces of people that are graduates of HBCUs and bringing them to their campus, it really helped them to really understand, you know, their purpose. So I agree with you guys 100%. But I would definitely tell these companies, look into going and setting up partnerships with these HBCUs, because there's a lot of talent. I can say, now I don't want to be biased just saying from FAMU, but I know there are talents. I have friends from Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman, you know, Hampton. They're equally as talented. And, you know, I see in the comments, you know, FAMU, I'm a rattler to the day I die. But, you know, but just honestly having these conversations and saying, you know what, let's go over here to these HBCUs and look through their talent pools and see what we can pull from there, giving them a chance at these internships, giving them actual hands-on experience, not just having them go fetch your coffee and doing little things here and there, but giving them a real opportunity, and then therefore, you know, transitioning to actually working for your company or giving them the opportunity to work for your company, you know. But I definitely say those HBCUs, they have to tap in, because, you know, we fight hard every day, you know, to really be where we are, you know, today. Because again, I did not graduate, you know, I feel as though FAMU and every other HBCU is the Ivy League school, in my opinion, you know, although I received my master's from Nova Southeastern University, which, you know, is not an HBCU, but every time that I go speak at that university, I always let them know, because of FAMU is why I'm able to come back as an alumni to your university. Like, never forget that, because when they introduce me, they always say, oh, you know, she's a NSU, you know, graduate. But in my bio, I make sure that I represent for those HBCUs. So that's my little piece, but it goes all the way back to opportunity, having access to be able to, you know, show who you are, and then the recruitment at our HBCU. So
shout out to all our minorities representing at all universities, HBCU, top 5, big 5, small school, JUCO. So one final question, and please start sending your questions in the chat. Research has shown that when women occupy leadership roles, projects and work environments are considerably more inclusive. How do we amplify the roles of women and women of color in particular in leadership roles? And I want everybody to give me one answer of a great example of a brand or organization that is showing women of color leading that role, an example of that brand following that diversity inclusion. Everybody give me one answer.
I'm still going to go back to Coca-Cola, you know, because I have a lot of sorors, and that's women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, that are part of their organization. Seeing them in those executive level roles and talking to them and listening to their experience, and them coming in saying, you know, I came in maybe at the bottom, but I was able to move my way up within X amount of years, where they linked me with mentors. And not only just mentors, it was my management who really believed and saw that leadership quality and skill set within them. And so you see a lot of good Black folks, not just women, men, you know, within the Coca-Cola organization. So I will go back to Coca-Cola because I see the work that they're doing, and it shows within their mission. You can see a great diverse representation. Even if you go on LinkedIn and just type in Coca-Cola, then you'll see their employees. You will see a lot of Black faces, Black and brown faces.
I don't have one specific company that's coming straight to mind, but I would say that in the past 6 to 8 months, there have been a lot of great hires in different news media companies, where they've placed Black women at the top positions, which I think is a huge, huge, huge deal, especially in news media specifically, because we know historically and currently how biased and anti-Black a lot of news media is in this country. So it's a really big deal to put Black women at the helm of these news media organizations. Generally speaking, to touch on the last question actually, is, you know, like Marissa said, these companies, the responsibility to hire, it sits with them. But I think on our side, what we can do, and even answering how women can propel themselves forward, is to link up. There's power in connection, there's power in numbers. And I think the best thing we can do for ourselves as communities and all of the communities we belong to is link up with each other and support each other and uplift each other, because those connections go such a long way. And stop competing against each other, because I think what most organizations try to do is, you know, even when they say like these writer programs, where they're like, oh, they're that diversity spot. They all want to put us in that one diversity spot and force us to compete with each other. And I say, screw that, throw it in the trash. F their diversity programs, to be honest, because I don't belong in a diversity program, because I'm not your diverse candidate. I am the best of the best. Therefore, I should be on the same level. I should be in the same applicant pool as your best candidates, not in your diversity pool, because you decided that's the only place where you can hire Black faces and brown faces and women. So I think just not competing with each other in the first place. So making sure that we're powerful together, force them to change their hand, even if that means changing where you're spending your money, or creating your own content. Because what we do know is that when they lose money, their minds start to change all of a sudden. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe we can make a movie with an all Black cast. Maybe we can make a movie with an all Asian cast, even though we've been telling you that these movies are blockbusters and sell internationally, but you didn't want to hear it until Jordan Peele decided to go do his own thing, right? So once we start taking their money, then they start listening. So I think it's really important for us to link up together, pool our resources, and support each other, and get rid of that competitive mindset, because that's what they're banking on, is for us to be too busy fighting with each other to realize that they're the ones messing up the game for all of us.
And Pamela, just another example, Girls Trip. Blockbuster hit.
Yeah, all of that. I too don't have a particular company that comes to mind that I can say they're the sort of example of doing well with hiring women or putting them in leadership roles. But I would say probably what we're seeing lately is the media sort of space. It's tough. I do think that Black women in leadership roles, to what Tasha was talking about earlier, we saw it in this election, and I'm not in the entertainment space right now, but from a leadership perspective as a whole, with this last presidential election and what happened in Georgia with Stacey Abrams at the helm and other Black women that were really on the front lines organizing at a grassroots level, that leadership time and time again is what really saves everyone else. It's women, right? But then it's women of color, but specifically it's Black women. Black women are so empathetic and always willing to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good. That has its challenges, right? I think it has its impact and effects on us, but I do think from a leadership perspective, Black women are really an archetype, and we should be sort of modeled after for men as well who are in these senior positions. Leading with authority, conviction, and empathy, I think, is what we demonstrate. So just wanted to add that little tidbit there as well. But yeah, it's tough because we also saw in the last jobs report that women lost how many jobs, Pam? Like over
144,000.
144,000 jobs were lost in period. But then they were lost by all women. Women accounted for all of those job losses. And then even further, that is broken down by Hispanic, Latinx, and Black women that lost those jobs. White women actually gained jobs, and white men gained jobs over the past, was it just in December?
December, yeah.
In December. So that's a problem. I do think we need to band together. I do think we need to be advocates for each other, but we do need to have a come to Jesus moment, because that something in the water isn't clean. That doesn't make any sense. And Black women and Hispanic women continue to be the most educated groups out there. So why are we losing jobs? Why aren't we getting the same access and opportunities as everyone else? And I think that needs to be at the forefront, because it shows that when we are in leadership positions, businesses are impacted in a positive way. Profits are increased. So these companies need to consider that and look at who they have on their executive team. And it needs to be more women. It needs to be women of color, period.
And one more thing I'll add
And
to
they also just
quick points is, Marissa, is like you pointed out, Black women truly are, like, everyone sit in this for a minute. Black women in the US are the most educated demographic in the world. The most
say it again
in the world, period. And then you look at how much we're getting paid, the numbers don't match. So start to ask yourself questions about that. And when I say, like, we need to uplift each other, you know, we can only do so much, right? And I find it really insane that the people doing the most work are the ones who are carrying the biggest burden. Because when I turn around and look at all of these companies, I'm like, who are the ones pushing for change? It's not the white folks. It's not the white men, especially. So, you know, for anyone, like, everyone who's listening, everyone who's going to listen tomorrow, if you're not a Black or brown face or LGBTQ face, whatever the case is, ask yourself what you're doing at your job to actually advocate for change. Because I know at my job, I'm in everybody's business. Like, every organization I've ever been in, I'm in everyone's business. And Tasha knows, I'm in everyone's business. I'm like, excuse me, where's your trans representation? Where's your differently abled representation? I'm always asking the questions, because I'm always thinking about other people and not even putting myself first. So especially as a Black woman, how is it possible that I'm the one carrying that burden for all of these marginalized groups? Meanwhile, there are so many allies all around everywhere who aren't ever asking those questions in their workplace. They're never asking their employer or HR, hey, what are we doing to make sure that our our workplaces more inclusive so that we can get people in the executive level who aren't white? What are we doing so that we can get some trans people in there? Like the people who actually have the power to make these changes and the leverage to say these things without the repercussions, without being penalized, are most often the ones that are just chilling, that are just doing their 9 to 5, and they, you know, pop open their little soda after work and that's it. Meanwhile, the rest of us, you know, we're in beepers, Black Public Relations Society of America, we are bending over backwards. We're burning ourselves out to make sure that we and our people and other people are represented. But what we need is more co-conspirators, not allies, but the co-conspirators to actually do the work, to carry the burden, because I cannot do all of the work by myself. I cannot be the target of someone's oppression while being the savior, right? That it just doesn't make sense. So I need everyone to step up to the plate a little bit more, especially when we see those numbers. Like, how can we be the most educated group in the world and get paid as little as we do? It doesn't make any damn sense.
Stop expecting us to be saviors. The day is, that's over, period. Eddie, to answer your question, which I forgot what it was because the ladies were so powerful, but to the point, I'm just simply gonna say, stop expecting us to be saviors. What we are going to normalize is Black women are freaking phenomenal and we're not magical. We're not unicorns. I don't care what Tiffany Haddish said. We're not gonna normalize us being magical because we're always saving the day. The reason why we've done it, because we've always done it. We always have to do it. So now I'm gonna need the oppressors and others who don't look like me, who are not as tanned, to join the fight and to make things right, period. Time for questions.
Well, I don't know what else to say. This is why this is a masterclass of phenomenal women across the world. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We want to thank this panel and all our esteemed attendees. First of all, I'd like to thank the fellas who came to join to listen, to support the women on this panel, the organizations, and those attending. If you do not follow FYLI, you need to follow Seven Hill Productions, follow Beepers, and make sure you connect with everyone, because as you see, this conversation is not just something we have for a panel. It's our everyday Sunday dinner, cooler talk, after work, social media, direct message, Snapchat, and just something you need to have to support your friend, your family, and your fellow co-worker. These ladies gave some phenomenal answers, and I know we couldn't ask all the questions because just dynamite information, but we definitely want to take a couple of questions, or at least one, if we have time.
Eddie,
if
I
not,
have one quick add here as we close. I don't know if there's more questions out there, but I know something that we were talking about in sort of a pre-panel discussion is like, what is something that we're all sort of looking forward to in the next phase of diversity, equity, inclusion in the entertainment space? And one thing that I am looking forward to is everyone playing their part in reaching diversity, equity, inclusion, right? I think it's really sometimes, well, two sides of this. I think sometimes when we're in this fight, which is a long battle and an uphill climb, it can get tiring. You do get that fatigue of, oh my God, we can't keep bitching about Black people or representation of communities of color. Like, how much longer do we have to do this? But I do want us to understand that progress is happening, whether we feel like it's happening fast enough, and it's not happening fast enough, I will say that, but it is happening. So be inspired by that. And I also want to add that you can't have too much diversity and inclusion, right? I think we were talking recently in a client conversation around The Bachelor specifically, and seeing sort of, okay, we casted a Black man, we have a Black bachelor, oh my God, we are at the pinnacle of diversity, we've reached it, right? But they still have so many other DE&I issues to address, namely when it comes to sort of beauty standards and beauty diversity and body diversity and those things. So just understand that not that the fight is never over, but there's a lot to achieve, and we all should band together and be as inclusive as possible, right? I don't think as a Black person, I should ever feel satisfied once something is achieved for my community only. I think the only way that we're going to see true change is when we all advocate for each other and disrupt every iteration and instance of a homogenous group or a homogenous way of thinking, right? So just like we're going to advocate for Black Panther, let's advocate for, what is that new Netflix film, The White Tiger, with like a Southeast Asian cast, or Your Crazy Rich Asians. Like, we need to be just as vocal about film and television and projects that don't center whatever I represent as we are about those that do represent your group. So just understanding that we'll only reach true inclusion when we all sort of come together and fight for each other, and really just drive out this white-centered way of thinking.
I love that.
Well, it's been an honor to moderate you ladies. I know people did not get to probably ask their questions, but they will be following up. I just posted everyone's Instagram pages to make sure people can follow up, ask questions. Please continue to follow the organization. We have some great master classes coming in February. You guys are going to see a phenomenal another panel coming up in February and March. And I will let Summer and Jacqueline take it away, because, you know, it's all about the ladies. I'm a man just standing.
Eddie, as I said earlier, you are the man ambassador for us, right? Ladies, so powerful. Thank you so much. It's a great honor that you guys join us, give us the opportunity to put the panel together. We're just so grateful. And Marissa, like, your ending is so perfect, because that's the reason why Fylí gets to create this event series. And as Eddie said, we do it monthly. So we have another one coming next month, and we have like just monthly. And we believe that everyone should play their part. And we focus on women, but you shouldn't only focus on like white women, Asian women, Latinx women. And there are like communities, Black community, Latinx community, Asian community. So that's why, as Marissa said, we should definitely do it all together. And that's why we create the event series. So grateful. And I want to announce that, as Eddie said, our February programming is out. So if you are interested in attending a session, we would love to give one session for free to tonight's attendees. So if you are interested, email Kat. And also, we are a mastermind membership community, like Crystal here, who is a perfect example as our mastermind member, who is so powerful and so motivational. So thank you so much, Crystal. And I will pass it to my co-founder, Jacqueline.
Yes, thank you, everyone. What a powerful panel. What a powerhouse group of women you are. Thank you, and men, our man ambassador, Eddie, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your insights, your journeys, your stories, how we're going to create change and impact together as a community and be vocal together, which is so important. So Marissa, I'm so glad you ended this beautiful discussion tonight with those words. They were very powerful. Thank you all so much for your time, your energy, your support. You can check out our programming online, and we will share this recording with everyone who attended here tonight. If you'd like to look back on it, if you'd like to connect with our speakers, find different ways to get involved, join different organizations to help and continue the conversation from tonight, we will follow up with everyone. And thank you all so much. Wishing you a great night, and a big shout out to Crystal for help making this discussion come to live tonight with Eddie. And Eddie, we appreciate you. Great job. Thank you, everyone.